Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's Zoe here with Cairo Productions, and today I'm going to tell you the story about how I found out I was pregnant and how my parents and baby daddy reacted. So this whole thing kind of began in February of 2018, and this guy that sat at my table, I didn't really know him very well, he asked me if I wanted to go to prom together as friends, and I said yes. Prom just sounded pretty fun to me. So a couple days later, I was like, you know, it'd be weird if we went to prom together without really knowing each other. I was going skating that evening with a friend and asked him if he wanted to join. He said yes, and we hung out and we got to know each other pretty good, and about a week after that, he asked me if I wanted to go out, and I said yes. This is all a really quick process. A couple weeks later, I was at his house and he pranked his mom and was like, "Hey mom, Zoe's pregnant," and she freaked, and so he started doing this every day for like a whole week. He was like, she's pregnant, and the day before my appointment, April 22nd, she said, "If you tell me you're pregnant one more time, I'm going to throw a shoe at Dalton." And it was pretty funny because the next day, on the 23rd, my dad was taking me to my doctor's appointment to get back on birth control. And when you get on birth control, they require that you do a pregnancy test just in case. So I did the pregnancy test, my dad was in the room, and it's kind of funny because when the doctor walked in, he says, "Okay, I have the results," and right as I said, "And I'm not pregnant," he said, "You're pregnant." I started bawling my eyes out. I was really upset. I had a lot going through my mind, and I was like, how am I going to deal with this? You know, this is going to change everything. I don't know what to do anymore. How am I going to tell Dalton? I was just really upset, but my dad, being who he is, he's 49 and still didn't have a grandkid, even though he has a 25-year-old son. He was in the room and he goes, "I hear wedding bells," and it was so funny, but I just wasn't in the mood. I didn't even laugh at that. I ran outside to my grandma. It was her car, and so she drove us, and I told her and asked her if I could use her phone, and she said, "I knew this was gonna happen," and handed me her phone. I used it and I called Dalton. He didn't believe me. I was crying, and he was just like, "No, you're not serious. Are you really serious? Zoe, please tell me you're serious." He was so happy. So I went back to his house. I called a bunch of people, told them. When I told my mom, she was kind of mad at first. She said, "You know, there's nothing for me to really say about it, but a baby's always a blessing," and she threw me a party. So I'm not going to be much help with figuring out how to tell your parents. I didn't have an issue. I'm really close with my parents and they're really lenient, so I didn't have an issue with my parents. Telling Dalton's parents was a little bit different because, you know, he's 18, so they didn't really think anything of it that much. But after that, I was talking to Dalton, and he was so excited. He started calling a bunch of people and was like, "Hey, guess what? I'm having a baby!" And about 3 days after all of this, we ended up breaking up. I guess things just got to me, and I was really upset, and I started treating him not so good, and he broke up with me. So that's kind of how they all found out. How I reacted to it obviously wasn't the best. Ended up getting a lot of other thoughts. I thought of abortion, I thought of adoption, even though I have been against abortion my entire life. I still thought about it. I actually scheduled an appointment to go do the abortion. I went into Planned Parenthood and they made me do a sonogram and asked me a bunch of questions about how old the baby daddy was, if it was forced, if I was being forced to come in, and I answered all of them. And it was really hard. I was crying the entire time because I knew that it wasn't right. I knew that it wasn't okay. But when I saw my little baby in the sonogram and heard his little heartbeat, I knew that I couldn't have an abortion, and I broke down. And still to this day, I break down a lot every time I see him, just because I remember that that was an option in my head, and I hate myself for it. I feel like I'm not good enough for him, but I'm working through it. And so yeah, there's my story. Thanks for watching. See ya!